If you guys ask around in the pro scene, it seems like an overwhelming consensus that Nisha is the single most impactful player in the entire world. So the question we have to ask ourselves today when we watch this replay of Nisha against Tundra TI-11 champions is, what does he do that makes him so good? So it is quite an honor for me to get to watch the best player play one of my favorite heroes. Let's go ahead and jump into it. So I'd first like to talk about Nisha's CSing. In this spot, he has a range creep that's dying as well as melee creeps underneath his own tower. He's going to use his stun to get the range creep, and then he's also going to get both of the CS on those melee creeps while also denying this range creep, so getting off to an early lead. Then he's going to use a stun to prevent 9 from getting 2 CS. So even though he didn't get the denies, that stun did go off while the tower was killing 2 melee creeps, thus denying 9 about 80 gold. Now underneath tower, we're going to see him use a level 1 lightning storm that has delay on it from when you cast it to secure 3 CS, setting up that range creep also the last hit after the tower shot. The number one thing I'm seeing so far is no CS given away for free, meaning he doesn't miss them, and he also makes the opponent earn every single one. So as a ranged hero versus melee, we see him right-clicking a lot. That's a big deal. Something that I definitely see lower MMR mid laners miss out on is the overall amount of times that you can right-click the opponent. As long as you're not missing CS, look at how much he is right-clicking 9 here, especially when the lane is on his own hill. So one thing cool that he did here is normally he would have to hit this creep, and you see him actually think about hitting the creep here. But because this is a flag bearer creep, which provides 3 HP regen aura to its entire wave, it's going to be able to out-regen this third tower shot with 12 HP, which means he doesn't hit it prior. So another interesting thing that we're going to see is when a good player prioritizes harassing the opponent over CSing. In this case, he's level 4, Tusk is level 3. Tusk has put himself in a precarious position, and a lot of people notice that Nisha's been focused on CSing this entire time. And even though there are literally 3 creeps for the taking here, he elects to pass them up in order to hit 9 with a stun, getting a ton of harass, and even forcing 9 to use his spell in a way that simply protects him and doesn't do any damage to Nisha. Keeping the lane on his hill. Notice how he dragged the creep wave to the side instead of pulling it into his tower. He's going to drag it to the side. This effectively keeps it on his hill. High ground advantage and overall wave equilibrium advantage are very big deals, especially in the mid lane. So he didn't miss a single creep of XP to go get that rune. He did miss 3 last hits, but he kept the wave on his hill this entire time. So CSing prioritization, learning when to skip that prioritization for harass, and then also this lane equilibrium management seemed to be incredibly crucial for him winning this mid lane. Look how he's holding a skill point. So these 2 spells are more of like laning and killing spells, while this is the spell that he would level if he wants to take towers. And because Diabolic Edict is so good with a second point in it, it's good to consider taking it at level 5 so that at level 7, 8, 9, you're doing way more damage to towers. So he's leaving his options open. That is the biggest part. He took the 2-0-2 in order to win the lane. He feels like he's established a sufficient lead, and now he's thinking about, will I need my first and third spell in order to secure a kill with a gank, or will I need my second spell if Tusk tries to rotate and take the tower? So he ends up taking the Diabolic Edict. That means he wants to pressure the tower. He's got a catapult, he's being aggressive, 9's not quite level 6 yet. The catapult is going to go down, and since it's only level 1 Edict, he's not going to like force his hand. He's going to prioritize the rune. Very good. At the rune every 2 minutes, no question. Having a support that secures rune for you, that seems pretty important. So in this case, since he has an arcane rune, there's a lot of different things that heroes can do with arcane runes, right? Storm can look for kills, heroes like Tiny can look for kills, but heroes like Leshrac, they want to accelerate, right? So playing according to the game plan of your hero. An arcane rune on a hero like Lesh is just a green light to spend your mana incredibly efficiently to kill creeps. So in this case, he sees an enemy stack with this ward, which also allows him to pick up an enemy bounty rune. So he's invading enemy stacks, taking enemy bounty rune because of this arcane rune. So he got the rune, making the best of the RNG that Dota gave to him, and he didn't miss a single lane creep in the meanwhile. So what I like so much about this is these little efficiency moves that he's making between each wave. What's been happening so far in the lane is that Nisha has been putting a ton of pressure on 9. And it makes sense because for Leshrac, before level 6, there's really not much else for the hero to do. You know, there's no small camp anymore. He's not strong enough to kill jungle creeps yet. So he's been prioritizing pressure, pressure, pressure. The second he hits level 6, shoves out the wave, picks up a rune, farms a stack, comes back and clears the wave really quickly, goes over to another camp, stacks it, doesn't miss a single creep again, and comes back to lane. So this is really all about what does your hero do best. Level 1 through 5, he pressures. Level 6 plus, he farms for that bloodstone timing. Because Leshrac is a snowballing hero based on his ability to survive, and it all comes down to how early this bloodstone comes out, plus the next item, right? The bloodstone gives you the sustain, the next item, like a BKB, keeps you alive. So he is rushing this timing, and he's still not even #1 net worth. Shout out to Mickey. So in this case, what I like so much about this is that 9 is threatening to rotate right now. So see how 9 is rotating? Previously, Nisha had information that 9 was sitting in the mid lane. So he sees that 9 is rotating. And a lot of players, if they're buying into what Nisha's doing here, would go farm the stack that they just made. He just made a stack over here. But the enemy mid is rotating. So what you cannot do as a mid laner that is responsible for not only farming but also creating pressure is prioritizing your own farm while allowing the opponent mid to do whatever they want, especially when you're winning by 700 net worth. So he sees that Tusk is rotating, and he immediately thinks about going for the camp. You see it here, right? He's thinking about it. But then he doubles back because he doesn't want his top lane to get punished. He even draws a little line on the map telling his team that this rotation is coming and immediately clears the way. There's 2 ways to respond to the enemy mid rotating. One is to counter-rotate, either follow them or punish the opposite lane, or immediately pressure their tower. And Leshrac, with Diabolic Edict level 2, definitely pressures tower. So even though Tusk is top, he tells his team to chill, they don't get caught, and he's going to force Tusk to come back immediately. Even tries to get a D ward in the mid lane. Gets another rune. And even though he's super low HP, he knows that the volley of spells was used by Tusk as well as CM, and ends up killing 2 heroes. And even though he dies, that was a 4-man rotation. Roar used, so that's a big space-making opportunity to give to Mickey. And then he also is coming back to an area that is controlled by him and his team. His support got to take the lane, and totally fine debt there based on how much was expended by the opponent. So he's actually going to stack this camp again. Leshrac loves stacks because he gets his abilities do the same amount of damage, whether or not there's 10 creeps or whether or not there's 2. He's going to run down a support. A cool little efficiency trick that he did here is when he's bottling up, he disassembles his mana boots, puts the energy booster in his backpack, swaps it back in while the bottle charges are going off. Then he unlocks his boots to recombine them, you know, abusing the way percentage stats work in Dota. So he's giving his support the mid lane when his hero is capable of jungling, but now that the runes are coming out again, he's prioritizing pushing the wave again. So his supports are enabling him, but you also have to see how he's enabling his supports. So even though the Tusk got the DD, which is unfortunate, won the 50-50, they forced him to use it, pushing out the lane but backing off because he knows the Tusk is pretty scary right now. And immediate smoke with his team because he knows that Tundra had previously committed 3 heroes to mid. So they see that their carry died bottom. Beastmaster plus the 2 supports and Tusk killed the Ursa bottom. Rather than waiting for somebody to show top, he knows that his tower bottom is dying. So if you don't feel pressure from the opponent team and you're smoked up like this, you can just wait, you know? You can wait and see if somebody on the enemy team is like dumb enough, even if it's a pro match, to come defend this tower by themselves. But because he knows all of Tundra's bottom already and they're killing his tower already, he immediately pushes the wave, reveals his smoke, and is down to trade. Perfectly happy to trade on a hero like Leshrac against pushing heroes like Beastmaster. Notice how when he's super strong on the map, that he's never retreating. All of the movements he's making, whether that's for runes or to help his supports or to take a tower, or even right now, he's running towards the opponent's side of the map, looking to wrap around on this fight in the back lines, and looks like it ends up being nothing, so he's going to path himself cautiously. Emphasis on being at every single rune on spawn. Big emphasis there. I think he's an average of like 0.3 seconds late for the rune at 12 minutes. He sees a big fight going on here, pressures the tower immediately. This is almost a full mid tower, forcing out a fortification. And because he sees that CK is still chasing, he's actually sticking around. He knows the opponent could be coming, but he's sticking around just long enough to clear another wave because he sees the CK top. So a lot of times when the opponent forts, if you don't have proper information, you want to back off to be careful because they could just be running at you. But in this case, he had all the information he needed to push another creep wave. But now, Tusk is respawning, Beastmaster and CM are missing, so he pushes the wave and backs off. So very good, informed, calculated decision-making in regards to how much pressure he can apply without dying. So he sees Beastmaster in the triangle, and he's probably going to run back to mid, I imagine. Exactly, push out the wave because he has the ability to based on what he sees, and he's just going to backdoor this tower. Even though it gets denied, pretty important tower to take. So one important thing as a mid, if possible, is to always push the lane before you leave. So notice how he looks like he wants to be out of here because of the fact that there's no tower here anymore. But a rune is spawning and a wave needs to be cleared. So because he has a Rubik behind him, he clears the wave, going for the rune once again, right on time. It's an arcane, very nice. And he's really close to his Bloodstone. So this is an opportunity where, yes, we've talked about him advancing on map the whole game, but you don't want to force things, right? The last thing you want to do is be super aggressive right before a time. Super obvious thing to some of you, but it's also very important to be in tune with this kind of stuff in the middle of a game. So because these are the points in the game where you are most vulnerable, where the opponent wants to punish that you don't have your big item timing yet, and you have to be very careful. But he sees that his teammate is getting gone on, a support specifically. Looks like there's decent turn potential because Tree's living for a long time. And even though he doesn't have Bloodstone yet, he's willing to participate in fights. He's not willing to get initiated onto. He's not willing to be aggressive, but he's willing to participate. And that's a big difference. So pre-Bloodstone, right before it, he ends up getting a crucial kill on the enemy mid. Mid tower is getting pressured though. Has his Bloodstone. TP's in front just to protect the tower. Ursa has Battle Fury, so we are in farm mode. That's what he's most likely thinking. Just got to stave off this pressure. We have Treant to keep our tower alive. New rune is coming out. One thing I noticed with professional mid laners is that they just weave in and out of the middle of the map. And what I mean by that is on the rune spawns, they're always there, right? He's left the mid lane a few times. He went top, he went bottom, he's gone jungle. Every time a rune is spawning, he is back. Notice how he's like escorting his team through the dangerous area of the map. He sees that his team wants to run through here, and he's like escorting them. He knows he's the strongest frontliner now, that he has a Bloodstone, and even Illusion Rune's pretty good against like the roots and stuff. And he knows that this area is scary because they have no vision here. So he's guiding his team to this farm, basically. But he's playing it super safe. And notice how even though they're losing, they're farming 3 lanes. Ursa was farming top, Darkseer farming mid, he's farming bottom, and even comes to kill the Beastmaster's creep and uses the Illusion Rune to disjoint the animation of Roar. Look at how Beastmaster's queuing up the Roar, uses Illusion Rune that disjoints it, and Beastmaster ends up roaring his illusion. A nice little bonus on top. What I like so much about this is that's not necessarily reliable in your pubs, but it's important to keep in mind as a mid laner, is you are generally a catalyst for your teammates to be aggressive. So when you see your teammates posturing aggressively on the map, whether it's down here because you don't see anything, or in this case, walking towards a guy top, he's with them, you know? He is with them, enabling them to do this. The enemy is scared of them as a ball, even though they're losing by 3k net worth. And whenever you're forced to group with your team because you're scared of getting picked off because they're against heroes like Tusk Beastmaster, always good to force an objective if possible. Both the towers are dead, so in this case, they're forcing Roche. And a lot of the reasons why you want to do this is not because you feel like you have to get Roche and you're losing. It's because you're already grouped up. So one thing you can do when you're already grouped up is force the enemy team to also group up. And by pressuring a crucial objective, that is one way to do it. So he did miss that rune spawn. Naughty niche here. I just love how much he moves, you know, around the map. I feel like we saw his heat map. It would be a solid, like, yeah, I think that's what he just did, right? This movement here is like a little figure 8 from middle to bottom to top to bottom. Never TP'ing. Actually, he TP'd back to mid to defend. So he has his Boots of Travel. He made sure he didn't purchase an extra TP scroll. In the meantime, the Boots of Travel are going to allow him to play away from his team while also still connecting to his team. That's the big part. But because he has no information on the map, he still TP's back to near his team. He doesn't like go off on his own. He sees a bunch of heroes top, so he doesn't want to leave this area to give them a free Roche. Gonna play for a rune, but it feels like they can't contest as Darkseer, their main team fighter, is dead. So this initiates the whole farming backwards idea, where the enemy team was top, and so he started farming away from them. He sees that they're running towards him through the jungle, so he started farming away, sees them running towards him, and then immediately TPs to the other side of the map. So this is a great way to effectively kite the enemy team when you're losing. It's even more notable that his hero has Boots of Travel, so his map mobility is really good, and he also has a carry with purely farming items. So despite the fact that they are losing, despite the fact that they have pretty decent team fighters like Darkseer and Treant Protector, Rubik, even like Ursa's a decent fighting carry at this stage in the game, they are losing, opponent has Aegis, and they have farming the map items. Absolutely no hesitation, isn't trying to fight the opponent at all, and actually getting a pretty good amount of space, all things considered, using the Bloodstone active efficiently by dragging the creep camps together. The more creeps you're hitting, the more mana you're getting back, right? Finishes both the camps before the minute mark, sees all the heroes in the mid lane. So this is exactly how you want to think about jungle camps. So right now, all he sees is CK illusions, right? Well, he's going to go farm the jungle camps because he's not exactly sure if somebody from Tundra has like TP here, for instance. He doesn't know where they are. So he's going to go to the jungle camps, but then he immediately sees Siam. And this is a situation where if you see an enemy supporting your triangle, they're probably not alone. They're probably not there all by themselves. So he immediately stops going for the jungle camp immediately. He's not like, I've already ran this far, let's do the jungle camp. Immediately goes back to push the wave because they're losing. He has to force pressure and be fast. So anytime Tusk rotated, anytime he sees the opportunity to push waves, he's doing it. And it's very quick, right? You can see that he sees the jungle in a similar way to me, at least in the sense that like I see the jungle as efficiency while you don't feel safe to push the wave, but when you do feel safe, go push the wave. So it looks like he has some sort of similar interpretation as I do there. But notice how he's pressuring despite the fact that Tundra is completely controlling the game right now. I like how sticky he is here. At no point has he left this area because he knows that he's the only one dictating Tundra's movements. So he's waiting, and finally he's down to leave because his team has been able to take over the outpost. Tundra gave up bottom control in order to try to bully him out of top. So force a sufficient reaction, and then finally TP. And this is why you don't generally want to TP, because Tundra can just run at you like this, where you're kind of stuck with your team. So they're kind of in a spot where they have to fight. Like, there's just nothing else to do if you look at the map right now. Like, if we rewind, right? There's just nothing else to do. Like, they're all stuck together here. Tundra's, like, hitting their base. And even though he doesn't have his BKB yet, you know, he's just kind of got to do it. So they get a nice stun on Skeeter. Can't really control anything that's going on in the back. I like that he's, like, you know, just trying to focus the target in front of him. He's not a hero that can afford to just dive into the middle of the enemy lineup. Look at the patience. He's got Bloodstone, he's full HP, but he respects the burst. Tusk, Willow, Beastmaster, a lot of burst. So never getting himself gone on despite the fact that he would ideally be the tank. Expects the response of this BKB, right? Look at this. He's expecting this stun to get BKB. So he's going to Lightning Storm stun, and then during the stun, he's going to turn around and back off. He's expecting Skeeter to BKB that. That's a situation where I would imagine that if Skeeter had not BKB'd it, he would have done what he did up top, where he doubles back and goes on Skeeter. He's like, oh, he didn't BKB? Get him. Cautious little back. If he doesn't BKB, go back in. I know he's in professional Dota, but I really emphasize assuming the opponent is doing the correct thing that would kill you. Whether that's BKBing, whether that's running at you, whether that's smoking at you. Give them the benefit of the doubt unless they are proving otherwise. Really nice stun there to cancel the TP. So notice how when they get kills and they open up the map a little bit, he's not trying to force anything. he remembers the mode that he's in. He's in mode farm because he is 600 gold off of a BKB. So he immediately runs away from his team despite getting a kill, but then he tries to regroup with his team. And even though they lose their Darkseer, Roar was used and they killed Beastmaster's Ancient Creep. So it's not the end of the world. We kind of have to like count our blessings here because we're down by 10k, right? You can't be hoping for the best plays ever. Killing Beastmaster's Creep as a response, not that bad. So him and Mickey, man, that's pretty Giga Chad 2v5. Not gonna lie. What I liked about Nisha there was that he was there to help, but once again, his patience is like, he's just so patient. Look at this. He's just gonna run in and offer a lightning storm real quick, which helped secure the kill. No question, no doubt. And then he just backs off. His BKB's coming now, so he should be a bit stronger. Barely fogging the reality rift from CK there. Because he has BKB and they also used Roar, he feels pretty confident to push this wave, but then he's gonna back off as his teammates are respawning. I like how he waited there, right? Look at this little back off. So he's like, oh, I'm gonna go farm this wave. But if we look at the map right now, his teammates aren't very close. Zai's all the way back here. You know, Mickey's over here. So he waits. He sees Willow and he's like, ah. But now that his teammates are closer, the Ursa's at this jungle camp instead of this one. The Greaves Aura Darkseer is now over here, like pretty close to him. He feels comfortable to go for this wave now, right? Playing around his team's positioning in general. Not expecting his team to do something, but playing around their positioning. He gets gone on. The Greaves Aura plus Vacuum makes a big difference on his ability to live here. And that's a CK ulti. Most notably, he's not dead. But now they're actually turning that into a kill. I think it is really important for people to realize that his perfect calculation of when to push that creep wave, effectively baiting the opponent to go on him, is what set this up in the first place. If he went too early, then he feeds. If he didn't go at all, then this fight never happens. So I'll be honest, guys. I wasn't really sure what I was going to learn in this replay, but what I'm seeing so much of is methodical play when it came to like his own timings, like farming his items when he's close and making sure he was at almost every single rune spawn for like the first 8 runes. But then it's that little bit of patience and that I'm going to go jungle. Oh, opponent's showing. Go hit wave. I'm going to go jungle. Oh, Tusk is rotating. I'm going to go push the wave. Oh, I'm going to push this wave. Wait, my teammates aren't very close. I'm going to wait. And then he waits for his teammates to get closer. This little bit of patience, as you can tell, is making all the difference. And I would argue that with the situation they are in, down by 10k, if he fed once, like horribly, they probably just lose the game. Even if, like, when you say horribly, he dies to 4 heroes, right? He probably loses the game. Spoiler alert, they do win this game. So when you're losing, it is always super important to make sure mid lane is defended if you think you can. The reason why that's so important is because if the mid lane is pushed into this area, the opponent has so much information to go off of, and they just have complete control of the map. By getting this lane pushed out, it allows your team to make moves. It allows them to counter. So notice how much emphasis he's put on this mid lane. How many times he's considered whether or not he needs his teammates. In this case, like he's setting up his teammates for a smoke by showing here and pushing the wave. And just his emphasis on the mid wave as a whole. This is like an interesting BKB usage. But really, the only thing I can imagine is he thinks the fight is over because Beastmaster died. So if he BKBs there and secures another kill, then the fight is ultra over. Get an objective off of winning the fight, immediately TP away from the team, and fix the lanes. This also sets your team up to go for another objective if they so choose. Notice how top lane's now pushed in. Getting a lot of farm. Basically crawling their way back into this game. I wouldn't even say crawling. They're like sprinting their way back into this game. Even taking this bounty rune. Oh, he leaves it. That's not the best player in the world right there. Guys, we had to take the opportunity to flame him. It's been 30 minutes. You can't be perfect. So now they're playing around Roche. Always the most important objective in all of Dota. What can you do? Hanging out with his team. He was split pushing when the opponent was dead, but now he's just hanging out with his team. Ultra crucial, he does not feed. Ultra crucial. Just chill with team. So much pick off on the opponent. Stun from CK, stun from Tusk, stun from Beastmaster, damage from literally everybody. And now that he sees the opponent was predominantly top, he walks away from his team this time. Notice how because Roche is a crucial objective, he doesn't TP bottom. He walks away from the objective with a TP available. Pushes out the wave and immediately TPs to his team. Sadly, it's a bit too late and the Rosh was a little bit too fast from Tundra. What can you do scenario? But the fact that bottom lane was pushed out, it made Tusk go there, which allows him to then push top. Notice how he's effectively forcing the opponent to go back and forth on the map, which allows his team to go back and forth on the map. And what's interesting is that I feel like a lot of the time in this spot, I would go for the next wave top. But what he's doing is he's allowing his weaker Darkseer to push the wave because Darkseer is strong enough to do it with Ion Shell, and he knows the wave's already going to get pushed by his teammate. And then he's using his strength to effectively ward Tundra off from taking his triangle. The way I think his mind works here is that Tundra is like in this area controlling it. And if he were to show top, like if he were to be the one pushing this creep wave, Tundra would feel safe to invade all of this, right? They'd feel safe to walk up into triangle. So he sees that his weaker teammate can push top, which allows him to like guard an area for his team. So much of what I've talked about in this game is how much pressure he's creating, how much he's allowing his teammates to do, but you also have to see how much area he's controlling in the game just by existing, right? Even in a game where they're losing. Little things like this, like holding your triangle, can be all the difference. Gives Ursa those extra 2 jungle camps, gives Darkseer the wave top, and he's not close to an item, so he doesn't need to like rush the Shivas. Obviously, he wants his next item, but he's nowhere near it. I think it's just so much, like, how often are we just seeing him do nothing? He's just literally doing nothing. Like, he's just following his team around. And it's not a flame, right? It's like, sometimes there's just nothing good to do. And if you try to do something, you're just going to die. So in this case, they're walking around as 5. He's now following his Ursa to the bottom lane. They're basically escorting each other for farm, right? Oh, he's running in. This looks like they knew a smoke was coming. They were pinging. They're playing around the ward. Didn't use his Bloodstone yet. Pretty good patience, knowing that Tundra wouldn't be able to burst him there. Uses BKB, immediately runs at the supports with his BKB active. I think that's cool. So notice how he has his BKB going. Skeeter dies with Aegis, and he spends this time zoning the reinforcements. He's like, no, you're alone now, Skeeter. You're in no man's land, as he runs straight at the CM as well as the Willow. Gonna net the kill with the Rubik buyback, and this is gonna allow them to chase. Getting away from his team for the stun. Dude, that positioning to prevent him from stunning his Ursa or his Rubik. Look at this. Okay. Doesn't want to stun his teammates because it's an AoE. Tucks himself into the trees so that he doesn't hit Rubik or Ursa. Wow. Like, look at this circle. It, like, barely misses both of them. So, really cool little maneuver there. He's going to leave the killing of the other heroes to Ursa. Being super aggressive with his team here, chasing for more. And despite being down the entire game, he is 7-1-6. It's his item. They have a big creep wave coming, so it's definitely the green light to pressure this tier 2 tower. Still have 40 seconds. I like the neutral item choice he's had this game. Every neutral item has given him tankiness. The broom handle, then the nether shawl, and now the blast rig. Probably a large reason why he survived the bottom and knew that he could live longer. Because a hero like CK, he can't really do anything about this blast rig. His illusions are going to miss, right? I like how he forces a reaction and then immediately TPs out, right? He's like, okay, Tundra, you're going to respawn, use fortification, we're going to back off. I'm going to get the creeps in our ancients. I'm back to my team now. Notice how little time he spends away from his team. It's like, yes, he's been split pushing, but even though we see a lot of split pushing, he has 10 CS a minute. We are seeing a situation where majority of the game, it feels like he is actually with his team, right? Strategically reconnecting, always being available. The only time he's not available to his team is when he forced a reaction like bottom there, where he TPs top, farms a little bit, and then walks back to his team. I think that's a very good motto to have. TP away from team once you've forced a reaction, then walk back to your team after you've TP'd away. If you have not forced a reaction, like they did earlier where he walked all the way to here, you can walk away from your team if you have boots of travel or the ability to TP to wherever your team is. So he's holding on to the ninja gear. I imagine he's like thinking he might want to smoke himself at some point in the game, so he's just holding on to it. I guess Ursa doesword want it. Yeah, he has the Pentasword. Okay, so he's actually fully replacing the Blast Rig. One thing that's really nice about Lesh with or heroes like Lesh with the ninja gear, is that they don't have to attack in order to clear creeps, so he can do this while smoked, which is really nice. In this case, he's going to go back for the Stormcrafter. The Dispel's really nice. Mana regen's really nice. Even, like, the damage around him is really nice. But there's a lot of stuff to easily dodge. Tusk Snowball, CK Stun, Willow Ulti. So it makes sense to use this. It's like another defensive item. Always making sure he pushes mid-wave, never missing it. He really never misses it. Look, he was ready to clear the next mid-wave. Like, this is what I mean by his way of thinking, right? He's here, ready to go clear another mid-wave. Then something happens. And he's like, I gotta go help my team. Has that not just been a consistent trend throughout this entire game? What the efficiency play is, runs towards it, sees that there's a reason to be doing something else, and immediately turns around. There's like no hesitation, right? He knows his priority. He knows, like, I'm going to do this unless this happens. So after buying 4 survivability items with the Bloodstone, BKB, Sanj and Kaya, and Shiva's Guard, he now goes for a kill item. I'd say this is like pretty standard carry gameplay. And Leshrac, despite being a mid, is a carry hero in regards to, like, he scales really well into the game and he plays like a carry on the map. So it's like a pretty good item build ideology. Survive, 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 survive. Finally feel survivable enough, build to stun them. What looks like a really tough game from start to finish in regards to an uphill battle. Nisha is 8, 1 and 9, 10 CS a minute. And other than that one bounty rune, he had his moment in the game, guys. He had his moment in the game. Other than that one bounty rune, it feels like such a clean game. I think the patience aspect is what I learned the most. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Like, comment, subscribe. See you guys next time.